Today, we're talking about a revolution, right? And Webster's defines a revolution as a material change in the way people live and work. So what's revolutionary about what Oracle is working on? And that's going to be the nature of our discussion today. If you think about this concept of a revolution, the seeds of this revolution were sown about the time that Michael and I arrived at Oracle. Oracle was in the midst of an acquisition strategy where we had acquired some 120 different organizations and technologies. And our approach at the time was, let's go out and make these acquisitions and build integrations into those things. We had this vision, though, dating back over 10 years when we started building this next generation of applications that became our cloud, that one day we would arrive at the point of being able to have one singular experience where we could just log in and do the jobs we were hired to do. Any role, any function on any task, any device, anywhere. And it's taken us a long time, over 10 years on this journey to get to this point. And we're getting close to being there, that unified experience, and that's what today is all about. So we think about the office of the CFO, we think about two predominant areas of focus in terms of products, the ERP or transactional system, as well as EPM or performance management. So in 2007, we acquired Hyperion, and from the outset, that's been core to our strategy to bring these two different things together. As we built the cloud, we embedded things like Essbase natively into that ERP. But we wanted to take that concept starting back from 2007 and make it even more unified. And again, having this singular experience. So many different implications to this revolution. There's implications for our partners. We're gonna touch on that. What does it mean to our partner network now? This new focus on persona versus the acronyms, EPM and ERP. What does it mean to our customers, right? And there's a lot of value to our customers, and that's one of the biggest drivers as to why we're doing that. And what does it mean to the technology itself? And that's why we have both ERP and EPM development folks with us today to discuss. That's where we'll start. We'll start with the technology piece. What have you guys been doing with respect to ERP and EPM to unify these solutions, to give us that unified experience?
Yeah, you got it.
So, as we started this journey a little over a year ago, one of the areas that we wanted to make sure was really consistent and unified to help us start this revolution, whether the customer had started from an ERP service and moved into EPM, also owning EPM solutions, or the reverse of going from EPM to ERP. We wanted to make sure that their experience was really consistent and unified, and that they didn't have to worry about signing into separate services in order to just do their day-to-day jobs. So what you see here on the screen is an example of how we're looking at the springboard and unifying that springboard to bring together both ERP and EPM services together within the same experience. So in this example, we've got the general accounting icon for our existing release, and you will be able to configure integrations with the EPM solutions directly into the ERP springboard, so that you can see the green icon here would provide the person managing this process direct access to the reconciliation product or solution in the EPM suite. Would you like to add anything to that?
Sure, just a couple of notes from the EPM side. So just real briefly, how many partners are in here are associated with the EPM products or work with the EPM products? Okay, several, great. So from an on-premises perspective, we had several different products and platforms and technologies we used, whether you were doing planning or whether you're doing financial consolidations and close. You had some different look and feel, certainly different IT support for those applications. So the first thing we did when we went to the cloud is obviously start to standardize on a platform. And that is the planning platform, PBCS. Customers have asked for a long time for financial management to be on Essbase. Essbase is core to that platform. But regardless, we've started to centralize on that. The next piece that we've really started to do, or once you standardize on a platform, you could start to really have a common user experience. So as customers start to adopt that second and third and fourth and fifth application, there's not an additional set of training that goes on from either a support standpoint, maintenance standpoint, and build out. And then lastly, we want to make these things plug and play. So one of the things that we've been doing as part of what Holly was just talking about for this unification and bringing together the user experience, is that we just introduced in our release, and it creates a framework for what you're going to see in this demo, but our ability now within a business flow, so we don't want to just call it plumbing, what we've provided. EPM, we have several different cloud services, but now they can be orchestrated to work together. So for a given business flow, you can, within the same user flow, within the same set of screens, within a tab dialog, they can hit whatever they need to in terms of satisfying that business process. So it may be that as part of doing tax reporting that they need to, they're entering their data into tax reporting cloud, and then as part of that, they need to produce the XML requirements for filing and do their narrative reporting, which may come from enterprise performance reporting. So these flows can go together, and the user no longer has to worry about what URLs they're going after, how they're accessing these. It's just seamless to the user experience to them. Okay? And so we've provided that within our release currently, and then that starts to really, you're going to see how that framework starts to extend here when I believe we'll have time for a demo.
All right, good.
I mean, if you think about this, if you're the accountant and you show up to work, you just really want to do your job, and so ERP was built, decades ago, and it was really meant to actually create transactions, accounting transactions, and there were certain deficiencies in the ERP system, so this whole other category of software was created, which it was EPM is what we refer to it now. And so now there's this chasm that exists between ERP and EPM, and so what Oracle is actually doing is working on closing this chasm between ERP and EPM, which is exactly what Holly and Al are talking about, is providing this seamless experience. Because when I show up to work as the accountant, I might have responsibility over GL, I might have responsibility over payables, but I also have to do account reconciliation, which is an EPM set of modules and capabilities. If you need sophisticated consolidation requirements, which is currently right now it's an EPM module, I just want to just do my job. And so the whole notion of this is basically providing a seamless experience for the user so that when I come into work, I just log in once and I just simply do my job, the job I was actually hired to do, and not really worrying about costly integrations and needless reconciliations. I just basically focus on my job.
So, Michael, you mentioned integrations, and this is one of the areas where we see a tremendous amount of value to our customers, having less integrations in this unified experience, and that's part of the development roadmap. And part of my day job is to meet with customers and understand their challenges, and one of the things that I've heard over the years is, hey, with Oracle, we have so many different reporting options and tools. Is there any part of this initiative that is going to allow for a simplification of that reporting experience? Still leveraging all the breadth of those different reporting options we have, but do it in a way that makes it easier for the end user.
Yeah, so I'll take that one. We actually have a couple of different areas where there's going to be convergence for the Office of CFO across ERP and EPM, and a good deal of simplification and just easier access for our customers. So the first is what you're seeing here on the screen are what we call infolets. The ERP solutions delivered infolets actually back in Release 11. Some of the customers and partners don't know much about infolets yet, so I'll just let you know that they're graphical alerts that monitor underlying financials processes, and based upon the threshold set up by the users or the partners in those graphical alerts, customers can come in to do their work and immediately see on their home page that there might be a problem in a particular financial process. And the nice thing about these graphical alerts is that they drill directly to the underlying functions that would enable that person to fix that problem. So the graphical alert part of it helps them to prioritize their work, and then they can actually go and physically directly go to the function to fix the issue or do further work on that particular challenge. So what I'm excited about is that we're continuing to, of course, on the ERP side, enhance these graphical alerts and do some really creative things with them. But now the EPM applications will also be creating infolets, and we will be combining them on a single homepage, again, according to the user's specifications, such that, again, from one place they can navigate either to ERP functions or EPM functions. It'll be transparent to the user actually where they're navigating to in order to do their corrective actions.
Right, and I think the exciting thing for partners as part of this is it kind of moves a dialogue with customers away from, well, what is that? It's another product, and how do I bring those together, and how will my user navigate across those? this really allows these organizations that see the work we're doing, kind of understand where we're going with it, to really see the value of bringing those solutions together, and investing more in that set of solutions really to solve their problems, to come in. So from a partner perspective, you spend a little less time worrying about infrastructure, installing software, kind of the things that you would do when it was on premises, and now you get to really add the value based on the industry you may have a focus in, the type of geography you're involved in. You could really start to put together some really good solutions targeted towards that customer or their business or geography, by really just configuring these things on their environment. So I think it creates a really kind of exciting opportunity for partners, and certainly for us as well, to expand those footprints, to add value to the customers across the whole supply chain of applications, if you will, or SaaS offerings that we have in the cloud that are both EPM, ERP, and transition across those two areas.
Just a quick note about this. So this is a really exciting set of capabilities when I talk to customers, and it really brings these two things that typically have existed separately, which is again ERP and EPM, and so this is part of that unification that our development team is actually starting to embark on, which is actually fantastic for our customers. But the interesting thing about these infolets is that they're pre-built. So there's actually two things really. There's pre-built infolets, but they're also customizable as well, right? So this is where you guys come in from a partner perspective. Is the pre-built, the customer's going to say, yeah, I want to use this one, this one, this one, this one's a checkbox, and they have them available. But the real value comes in is when you guys say, okay, great, now we're implementing this. These are the pre-built ones, but for the most part, they're always going to want something else, whatever that something else is. And as partners, that's where you guys can actually hone in and say, what other information are critical for you to operate your business, and what best information can we display here in these infolets in this one singular experience, so that they can easily do their job. And so it's really your effort with the customer to define those, build those, and then display them.
The other thing I'd go into, because I said there were two main areas that we're working on in terms of reporting and analysis, is that, again, for those of you who are not familiar, we have a function in the ERP side called Financial Reporting Center. This is a solution that helps to distribute reports or make reports available to the various stakeholders in your organization, no matter what tool was used to define that report, whether it's an OTBI-based report, an EPM-based report, or something else. So what we've been working on in the short term has been to ensure that we've captured all the great additional reporting capabilities from the EPM side and put them into the FRC user interface. So our first set of deliverables will be that we include EPRCS, or narrative reports, in FRC, as well as MR, or management reporting-based reports. That's correct, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So all the EPM reports, ERP reports should be available in a central location if they apply to financial reporting needs. In addition to that, we're actually looking at and have been working actively on integrating data visualization projects and storyboards into the Financial Reporting Center. And even further beyond that, we would like to make any report content available in FRC automatically downloadable to the data visualization tool, or opened in the data visualization tool is probably a better way of saying that, to enable anyone to do very dynamic analysis within the context of that tool, without needing to understand the underlying data model, or to become a reporting tool expert. They can use the very intuitive data visualization capabilities to do their ad hoc analysis. So I think there's a lot of exciting directions in the financial reporting area, and I know customers have told us that they see a lot of value in the directions that we're investing in.
Yeah, and kind of what I mentioned earlier, some of those steps have already been starting to get surfaced on the EPM side. So Holly mentioned management reporting. So if you use ERP, you use something called Financial Reports, which is a reporting tool that we also use on the EPM side, and it's deployed within the different SaaS offerings on the EPM side. But we've also are introducing a new type of reporting tool That's part of our narrative reporting platform. What narrative reporting, the long story short, is really that we're looking to expose here is really the ability where people have to explain, right? We do narrative reporting all the time. We put together budget books, we put together annual reports, put together ops reviews, disclosures, whether they're going to internal stakeholders or external stakeholders, and being able to surface that, pull that up where people can collaborate, enter their narrative, have reviews, make sure that the person that's tasked with pulling all this content together, because at the end of the day, for a narrative report, usually somebody's on the hook to provide that, and they rely on a lot of people across the organization. So with the surfacing within here with the Financial Report Center, you'll start to see a lot of that kind of collaborative look start to come out as well. And then Holly's got a lot of other things they're working on there to really bring kind of what you would call conversations with data, right? Is to make it a more engaging experience, capture kind of that knowledge that employees have within the organization. At some point, they're able to describe what's going on, and you need those closest to the problem to describe that. And so I think in terms of just going through processes and doing kind of your day-to-day, entering transactions or needing to look at a plan and make sure your budget or what your commits are on your GL isn't going over your budget, and all those other things that happen is really bringing together kind of that whole narrative explanatory process within here as well. So pretty excited about those pieces in there as well.
Well, you guys are better together. It's good to see this unification. And as I said, we've always had that vision of getting to this point. And this 10-year odyssey that we've been on, it has been a journey, and it's exciting to be at this point that we're at today. And it really marks part of the disruption we have experienced at Oracle as we've transitioned from a product company to a services company, and we're seeing unprecedented levels of innovation. I mean, both of you guys have been here for a number of years, as have Michael and myself. I mean, can you share some of you've mentioned some of the innovations, but some of the excitement that's happening that you haven't seen at Oracle over, in the on-premise world? I mean, some of the things that are, I know, Holly, you're doing some focus groups. We've always been a customer-led organization, but even now more than ever, a focus on, delivering those innovations to the market.
Sure. Well, as I mentioned before, we've been showing our concepts to customers in various contexts, a number of focus groups, and the feedback has been very positive. You don't often hear when you first expose a set of customers to a feature, wow, it's beautiful, I can't wait to use it. So that's really been some of the actual feedback from those focus groups when we've been reviewing our reporting directions.
Yeah, I think overall with cloud, what's been exciting to us is, when we used to deliver on-premises software, or we still do, but as we're primarily an on-premises software organization, it was always, well, Mike, everybody does things differently. They say they do things differently, but at the end of the day, consolidations are consolidations. There's rules that have to go with that. Planning, you may have different dimensionality, different calculations, but at the end of the day, you're entering data, you're rolling it up and running business rules. So, when your focus just is on premises, you're focusing on a lot of the, hey, I got to make this kind of cover all bases here and address these different areas. The movement to the cloud now has really allowed us to, people clearly expect, and Holly mentioned this, they expect ease of use, right? You don't expect to go to training classes to learn how to use a product for, a week straight, like you might have had to do on premises. So it brings brings the bar much lower for a customer to adopt these solutions, and we've seen that. Certainly on the EPM side, customers that would never have been able to host it on premises are now adopting planning and budgeting solutions, financial consolidations, account reconciliations, things like that. So they're really adopting these solutions from the EPM side. And then, secondly is, as part of it, we surface a lot to the organization on how that application is being used. So adding a lot of diagnostics, adding a lot of capabilities there so that not only do we see what areas of the product are being used, which helps us decide where to invest in, right? Because when it was on premises, you kind of have to do everything. You can never take a feature away, or you're always scared to change a feature because you don't know how it's being used. Now we understand, not from seeing data-wise how it's being used, but we kind of get an idea of The life cycle of that application, when are users hitting it, when is the heavy processing time, are there trends that we see so that we can run it, as Oracle's running these data centers, they need to keep that process running smoothly and understand when things are slowing down because of data is getting bigger or whatever that may be. And it really allows us from a development standpoint to really start to target developments, innovations, other things where we see they could be used in the product and would benefit the customers overall. So I think for us, it's really been a great journey there and really kind of have changed our whole thinking of these features and how we approach the product development side and how we bring it to market.
One other thing I'd like to add to that is I've been told by people internal to Oracle who've been working on this project that it is the most exciting project that they've worked on at Oracle since they've been there. And these are people who've been there for a very long time. So there is a high degree of excitement within Oracle for this convergence to happen and for us to be even more innovative in what we deliver.
Thank you, Holly and Elle. And I'm excited because I mentioned my day job is sharing, software demonstrations with our customers, and this marks a huge departure from what I was sharing with customers over the last 12 years. I mean, at Oracle, historically in the on-premises world, we would like to show you how smart we were by cramming every piece of functionality into a screen. And now what we have finally, after all of this investment, I think we're investing something like $6 billion a year, the predominance of which is in our cloud products, is have something that, yes, is very deep in terms of capability, but we call it beautifully simple, right? The enterprise is demanding simplicity, an effortless experience, much the way that our executives and business users experience in their personal lives using consumer-based apps. It needs to be effortless and beautiful, right? So I guess the best way to illustrate that is, Michael, are you prepared to share a quick demo with us? Would that be okay?
That would be okay.
All right, great.
That would be great. Okay, let me toggle over here to my iPad. So my kids get to watch this all the time, especially on Saturdays and Christmas and New Year's. They always wake me up early in the morning. They say, "Come on, Dad, give me a nice demo of financials." So I got to do it. So I'll give
What
you
did they
an
think of
abbreviated-
Release 13, by the way, when
Oh.
we dropped that a couple months ago? Did they like that?
Oh, they loved it actually. So you're gonna get an abbreviated version this morning, guys. So I'm logged in as Carrie Lane, and I'm going to touch upon just a couple things here because we don't have too much time. But I just want to illustrate the unification that our customers are really experiencing from a seamless perspective. So I'm logged in as Carrie Lane, and naturally, I can actually easily get access to my employee record or my team's information, right? Because everything is unified into one single platform. Whether it's ERP, whether it's HCM, whether it's CX or supply chain or distribution, logistics, project, procurement, finance, it doesn't matter. It's all one single system. And so I want to do other things, and that's just because today's discussion is predominantly about ERP and EPM, I'm going to focus on that. So I'm going to go into one of the infolets here that Al and Holly were talking about, and this is an example, a prototype. So this is a visual roadmap, and it's soon to be here anyway, so soon it won't be a visual roadmap. Pretty soon it'll be live software that our customers get to enjoy. But here's an example of that. So I'm an accountant, and I naturally want to close my books, and I get to see when my close calendar is, and I can look at my subledgers and my journals and stuff like that, which is typically an accounting function that exists in the ERP side. But I want to also understand and orchestrate this close process because there's a lot of folks involved in this process. So we have the close monitor infolet, which is now drawing information and the various alerts from the close monitor set of capabilities that reside in the EPM. And so here I can easily see what are the various tasks and who's responsible for them and where they actually reside relative to status. I can, one other thing from a close perspective is maybe I got to at some point do a tax provision. And so tax provisioning is a set of capabilities that, again, exists in the EPM side. But with this convergence, we don't really care. All we want is really to do our job, and whatever that job is, I just want to be able to do it very easily and seamlessly. And so I want to drill into the tax provision, and here are the various calculations that particular module does, and here's the report. I can actually see it. I can interact with it. I can actually pull information from my subsidiaries to ultimately come up with a tax provision that I'm going to submit to, that's going to be included as part of my filings. If there's allocations, complex allocations that requires visibility and traceability beyond what's provided in ERP, ERP has allocations naturally. Well, but what if you want to extend those allocations and have traceability and actually have more understand the drivers and actually see what departments we have those set of capabilities again on the EPM side. But again, if I'm the accountant, I don't really care where it's coming from. I just want to do my job. And so those are some examples of that. And let me just conclude here with some reporting. So actually, Holly touched upon that, and let's just give you a glimpse of what that looks like. So here's the Financial Reporting Center, which is a module that started on ERP, and now we're extending and converging that with some of the capabilities that Al and Holly are bringing together. So here are the various reports that I can easily take a look at. And if I want to actually put together a Q, a K, a budget book, a board book, or whatever it is, well, those elements of those type of reports have a couple things in common. They have numbers, they have charts, and they also have lots of words around that. And so we want to orchestrate that process to gather those narratives and put them into a seamless process. And that's the narrative reporting, again, all seamless in one single solution, regardless if it's ERP or EPM. Again, I just want to go to work and just do my job. And so here's an example of that. There's three main phases of narrative reporting. You take your board book, you identify the distinct sections of that board book, and you then apply authors. Who actually owns that section? So you have the authoring phase. That person is responsible for authoring that, gathering all the numbers, the charts, and the narrative around that. Then there's the review process, and ultimately you sign off. And what you get is basically a Q, a K, a board book, a board package, a budget book. And guess what? It has numbers, it has charts, and it has lots of words. And so the whole thought here, again, is about unifying these great, phenomenal set of capabilities that typically were separate. And you had to log in separately. You had to deal with this information separately. You had to transfer data from these, from these two different things. And the whole thing that we're working on, and these, wonderful folks from development, what they're doing is actually converging those two things so that our customers could actually spend more time just doing their job, analyzing, interacting with their decision makers, as opposed to collecting data, collating data, formatting data, reconciling data. They actually get to do their job. And so this is what we're thinking about, and this is where we're headed.
All right, thank you, Michael. That was exciting. So you guys have done a great job. You're working on this unification. We have the full complement of products out in the cloud today. As I said, it's been a great journey. You guys are innovating, always responding to new regulatory requirements on ERP, IFRS 15, Al, the full complement of modules. You guys have all that on your plates. And we're impressed. We like what we're seeing out of the team. However, there's emerging technology, right? And I know that's something that's near to the office of the CFO. What is there's going to be a big impact, right, in the office of the CFO. We hear these buzzwords, right? They're all over LinkedIn, and every article you read about the office of the CFO. What does machine learning mean? What does robotic process automation mean to the office of the CFO? And people get concerned about that. And I know it's top of mind to Oracle. There's a lot of sessions on it this week. What specifically could you guys share with us around the office of the CFO and some of these emerging technologies like AI and so on? What's our philosophy on that, and is there anything you'd like to share with the audience?
Sure. So we've been looking at various emerging technologies, all that you mentioned. I'll just throw in chatbots into there. And frankly, we're sort of spoiled for choice in terms of what we could do to improve processes or improve access to data or improve reporting capabilities. So one of the most exciting recent developments that I wanted to share today was that we've been talking very actively in our organization about the use of chatbots for reporting purposes. And specifically, I wanted to show you this alternative view of the FRC, the Financial Reporting Center that I told you about before. One of our plans is, first of all, that you can look at the list of reports in the list format that you saw previously, or choose to display it in a panel orientation. And when you display it in a panel, first you can either choose an image that is meaningful to a particular company to represent that report, as you see up here in the upper left-hand corner. You could choose an image from the report itself, like a graph that you see, for example, in the Sunburst presentation directly below the image. Or you could put in alerts into the panel that will immediately notify you of, in real time, the information in your financial system and whether it's trending in the direction that you're expecting it to trend or not, in a positive direction or negative direction. Here's where the emerging tech comes in. Historically, you would have had to define, for example, an OTBI metric. to display there, and you'd have to format it, and you'd have to know where the OTBI information was stored, and you'd have to know how to set up some kind of a notification for the trend and the alert. What if we used chatbots instead and allowed partners and customers to have a conversation with the system, saying, for example, I'd like to analyze my expenditures and I want to know how they're trending. The chatbot will go and look for some information and say, is this what you want? I want that, but just a little bit more refined. I want to look at it specifically at hotel expenses, for example. Is this what you're looking for? Right? The chatbot goes and looks at the information, comes back with a response. As you have that conversation with the system, ultimately at some point with a voice conversation, but for now typing, when you have that conversation with your system, you eventually get to the number that you want. And by the way, that's not going to be the last time you look at that number. You want to know that number again and again every time you go to assess your expenditures. So why not allow chatbots to be saved in this view? You never have to go look up that number again. You just go look at the report. There's the chatbot. It reflects a real-time number. It shows you the real-time trend. You didn't have to know anything about the underlying system at all. That is what we would like to have to do with emerging technologies. And I'm very, very excited about that piece of our directions.
Yep. And just to add on a couple of other areas from the EPM side, Michael showed in his demo, he showed the financial close calendar, right? And so we could track what activities are going on regardless of where they're occurring, whether it's a manual task, whether it's a system task, a monitoring task. Hey, I'm watching for the subledger to close, and then I want to trigger some action to happen based on that event. And so as we start to do these things, and we do those today, we can start to automate. We're kind of calling it intelligent process automation. Because it really starts to identify those areas. Visually, you can see now where there's gaps or where there's lags in your close process, but now you can start to see how to automate. The system can learn how to start to automate or provide tips and guides on how these time-consuming tasks or things that are manual in nature can be automated and happen automatically. Additionally, even from a planning and budgeting standpoint, which really touches everywhere. So, on our side, we don't look at it as just financial planning anymore, right? There's IT financial management, there's strategic workforce planning, there's all types of planning and budgeting that touch everywhere across the organization, and a lot of different functions do this every day. But, today we do things like we acquired Crystal Ball as Hyperion a long time ago, which really did a lot of different types of trending or doing Monte Carlo simulations, other things. Then we have predictive planning as well. Those still have a certain manual intervention to initiate those processes, right? So having the system start to monitor what's going on, and as you start to have more of this life cycle, you could actually monitor where the actuals are coming from, because in this brand new world, it's attached to the financials and other things. You could start to trigger reforecasts and other things automatically and start to alert proactively versus being, somewhat reactive when it becomes a human intervention thing. So those are just a couple of quick areas we're looking at on the EPM side that you'll start to see come in. And my last comment here is there was a few hands that went up when I talked about EPM, but I really think a lot of you, if you're on the ERP side, you're going to start to see EPM as an opportunity more and more in the combined new world that we're talking about here, because there's lots of opportunities there to cover all those adjacent areas that traditionally, if you were just on the financial side, you kind of left it to somebody else to worry about planning and budgeting. You worried somebody else to do the narrative reporting, that final mile reporting. Now you can do it all, which is really the cool part. So hope to see a lot more hands go up for EPM next year.
Awesome. Thank you, Al. So we've talked a lot about a lot of things. This unification, that seemed to be the cornerstone or phase one, and then now it's spawned into so many different areas. We've touched on emerging tech. When you look out to the future beyond the short-term deliverables that you guys have on your respective roadmaps, what are some of the key items for your longer-term vision for this unification as we move into the coming years?
Well, I'm looking forward to retirement at some point here, but I think this will come out before then. But I'm really excited because I think yeah, as we said, we're kind of moving beyond just the core pieces that you do to help support these different business functions. And, technology is just moving at breakneck speed, right? I mean, every day there's something new coming in from a startup or somewhere else. Oracle brings some of those technologies in-house. Some of these we do through partnerships with others. Partners certainly extend these with their expertise in other areas. So our goal really is, part of our appeal here is we've kind of told you what we're doing, where we see where we can extend our solutions, bring a better together kind of world, and revolutionize it. But it's going to be the feedback that we get from communities like this and our customers that really will help us identify new opportunities out there to really extend where we go. As I mentioned, EPM has already evolved to go beyond just kind of only finance people. So we're kind of talking about revolutioning finance here, but finance is kind of responsible for the overall performance of the company anyways, but now they can take these solutions and standardize on them so that every functional area doesn't have their own way of doing things. Well, we use spreadsheets here. Oh, we use this other tool over here. Well, we use Oracle EPM over here. Well, how do you bring all that information together? How does, there's a lot of wasted time when you have a patchwork of products. And so, the capabilities that we're bringing here, bringing more, Holly talked about chatbots, having that conversation with data, being able to ask questions, being able to do it in a very natural way versus, well, I think somebody created a report somewhere that pulls this information. That's kind of the old thinking of doing things. And so our approach now is going to be to really tap into kind of those new things. We always adopt these things from a social aspect first. So, we do things, whether it's Amazon, whether it's, Amazon shopping, whether it's Pinterest, whether it's all those different things we do. And then we want to start to see those things come into our work life because it's a skill set that the next generation of workers are expecting in the software. So I think you're going to see more social aspects come in the future from that standpoint.
So for partners, different client engagements now, instead of focused on these acronyms, ERP and EPM, it's more on the roles and responsibilities of, let's say, the office of the CFO. With respect to the partners, are we changing the way that we're engaging and what we're looking for in terms of alignment with our partners with respect to this initiative?
Yeah, I think that we're going to have a lot of changes in terms of partner engagement and how this will, I believe, really positively impact our partners' client engagements. So, even within Oracle, this initiative has helped us to look beyond getting deeper and deeper capabilities within a particular solution, whether it's ERP or EPM. Those capabilities are important, but even more so, I think, is the capability for us to look at new use cases that are configurable in our solutions, but not necessarily directly addressed. And so I am excited that partners can start to spend less time on application-to-application integration and more time on giving us feedback about things like capital management and how we can better address that within our combined solution, or how the close and consolidation process can be made more effective based upon what you're seeing in your client engagements. So I think there's going to be opportunities for partners to have a lot more value add at the client engagement, but also, frankly, more value add for Oracle because we are in a position to better address other capabilities beyond what we've already done in our core solutions.
Yeah, and I think one other area that I'll just mention here, because we didn't have much of a presence on it previously, but the Oracle Cloud Marketplace is somewhere that we're really starting to focus on giving opportunities for partners to market themselves in terms of the solutions they bring to market. So we've kind of worked with that team to kind of change what goes on there. It's not necessarily an app store where you click and you get a downloadable application like a budgeting and planning application for a consumer packaged goods company. It really allows you as a partner to kind of market your expertise, your area, whether it's regionally, whether it's by industry or something else, and create those opportunities out there within the customer base. I mentioned earlier strategic workforce planning. So if you're implementing HCM, it's good to know now that you could actually go out and solve a very key item that customers are struggling with, or they want to understand. How do they start to plan and get on their roadmap together for the type of skill sets and workers and things they're going to need in the future, right? And so strategic workforce planning, something we didn't do historically, and now we have that within our offerings and something that partners can go take. So that's just one example. You'll see many other ones where it gives you opportunities to hit other areas within a company. But, again, that feedback through the channels you have already, whether it's through OPN, Customer Connect is a really big area that we're spending a lot of time on as well, doing webcasts and other things there. So you have lots of avenues to kind of give us feedback there as well.
Time is up. We'll be available for questions after this or outside in the hall. I wanted to thank our panelists, Al, Holly, and Michael today, and thank you for attending. Welcome to OpenWorld 2017. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Thanks again.
Thank you.